I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Okay, it's been like 3 months, but for a TV nerd, that's like an eternity. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison for Digital Trends, and today, if you didn't already figure it out, we're unboxing the Sony Master Series A9G OLED TV. The TV that was called the best TV of 2019 by a bunch of video enthusiasts out in New York. Big video shootout, if you're not familiar. This guy beat out the LG OLEDs. How'd it do it? Well, I think we're gonna find out real soon. But first, we gotta get into this box and set this puppy up. Okay, so here's everything that comes in the box. And folks, you gotta dig a little deep to find the stand and the power cord. Everything else is just sitting right up top. The base here is metal construction with a little plastic overlay, and I'm stoked to see this because last year's premium OLED from Sony was ridiculous with this ballast and this raked back stand, and it was a huge pain in the butt. This looks simple. I'm down with that. 4 decorative pieces here. That's a lot of decorative plastic, so I'm curious to see how this TV is going to come together. We've got the new Sony style remote that we saw with the X950G and a couple Sony batteries for that. The legs that attach the TV to that stand over there, power cable, screws, you know what we do with those, and then the setup guide. You might actually want to keep this around. It's kind of handy. I had to look at it, and I set up TVs all the time. Okay, so we unboxed the TV, got it set up on our media center stand here with a little piece of cardboard underneath. Don't worry, the screen's not getting messed up. And I found this twist tie that I missed before. Oops. But also this other piece of decorative plastic, which means that I think we have like we've got like 5 pieces of decorative plastic here, which is, I don't know, it's just a little extra. I'm used to just putting a couple of pegs in the TV and standing it up and turning it on. So we got some work to do, but you know what? When we're done, it should look really good. So with my trusty quick setup guide right next to me, making sure that I don't set up the stand the wrong way. I know now that I need to take these little L-shaped brackets and plop them right here. And then you know what happens next. We start screwing. Now that these legs are on, we know that the metal portion faces forward, so we'll drop this down here, slide it in thusly, and then more screwing. Voila, we have a setup TV, and now we have our gratuitous back of the TV shot. And I don't normally spend a whole lot of time back here, but there's actually several things I need to point out with this television. So first things first, we got to get this plastic off, along with our child safety pamphlet. Thank you to the Consumer Technology Association for putting this out. If you don't read this, you're a bad parent, okay? TVs can be dangerous. Anyway. So first thing I notice about this TV is the fact that it is sitting almost flush with the media cabinet here. That is a super good look. That is a carryover from previous models. There is just a little bit of space there, but really not much. You're not going to see it. I love that as a start for the design. A couple other things to point out here. There are 2, we'll call them subwoofers, because that's, you know, they're handling the bass for the sound of the television, and that's important. I'll tell you why in a little bit when we flip this guy around. And then I'm starting to see where those decorative panels are gonna go. Looks like one will go here, one will go here, one here, one here. There's a 5th one. I don't know where it goes yet, so I'm gonna have to look at the quick start guide again. All of our inputs in the L-shaped pattern, as I would expect right here. One thing, however, that you might not expect is this little speaker terminal output. You can actually connect speaker wires from your receiver here, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. Now we're gonna plug in the power cable, and not because I think you're dumb and can't figure it out for yourself. Obviously you're a genius because you're watching this channel, but because we're gonna talk about cable management. That is part of the reason that we have so many plastic pieces, is because the idea is that you're gonna route your cables down from the input bay out through the back here through these little clips, and then slap a few protective covers on to give this a really nice and clean look. Hey, look, we're all set up, and I'm pleased to report that it was definitely not a hassle to put in those decorative little plastic pieces. Not at all. And this thing slinging so low to the stand here definitely didn't pinch Riley and I's fingers when we were moving it around. Definitely not a pain. Okay, you're picking up on the sarcasm, aren't you? It was a little bit of a hassle, but yo, it is worth it. This TV looks fantastic. I really do like the look of it being so low slung to the media cabinet. And the footprint here is small, unobtrusive, kind of disappears. So it just looks like the TV is just sitting on the stand. What a clean look. And the profile is stupid thin, which you'd expect because it's OLED, but Sony's actually mitigated the bump out here fairly well. I think it's super sexy all the way around. What's that? You want me to turn it on? Okay, I'm sorry. No more delays. Let's take a look at this thing. Setting this TV up once you first turn it on is super simple. It's an Android TV, which means if you have an Android tablet or phone, you can use that device to set the television up. And that just speeds up the process of getting logged into Google and YouTube. Fewer button presses and you're off to the races. I was gonna show you that, but it's kind of boring seeing me, touch stuff on my phone. If you do wanna see it though, I'd advise you check out the Sony X950G unboxing and basic setup video. We'll put the link right up here. That shows the whole process if you're curious about what it looks like. Once you're logged in, this is what Android TV looks like. You may have seen this before. There are a few things that I do like about it in that it's very colorful and it's very interactive and it's fairly easy to find the stuff you want. You can put the apps in whatever order you want to right here, add as many as you want for the home app ribbon. Sony has a few things that it likes to recommend. And it does this based on your viewing habits if you allow it to. You can opt out of that. Also, as an Android TV, it's Chromecast enabled. So if you like to cast using your phone or tablet or even your PC, you can absolutely do that. And as far as the operating system speed, it's a lot like the X950G in that Sony built a processor that really handles Android TV well. And so it's super zippy. All that stuff I've said nasty about Android TV in the past, I take it back, but only if you're running it on a Sony with a really high-end processor. As for picture settings, I would have to say that this Sony TV is one where you absolutely can use one of the out-of-box settings and you're absolutely gonna love it. So by default, it comes in standard mode. I'm gonna bust that down to cinema, which will warm up the color. And then we want to take a look at what it's doing with some of the other settings. The light sensor for optimizing brightness according to ambient light, it does a decent job, but I don't like that. So I'm going to turn that off. Go into advanced settings. We want to check in the motion section. It has a custom motion flow setting, really low clearness setting. Cinemotion is on. That makes 24p content look a little bit less juddery. Smoothness is way down at 1. This is going to be fine if you don't mind just the tiniest little bit of soap opera effect, but if you're really bothered by that, I would suggest that you switch this to off. I generally recommend that for all TVs. Outside of that, the cinema mode is going to be the most accurate and definitely the preference for people who watch in darker rooms. It's also appropriate for a daylight lit room, but if you prefer something a little brighter, I would suggest going with standard. It's a little colder in the color temperature, but still perfectly usable. Couple cool things to know about this TV. One, it supports EARC or eARC, so if you're looking forward to using that feature in the future, if you're a big AV enthusiast, the TV's got it. It does not do variable refresh rate or auto low latency mode, which is part of the full HDMI 2.1 spec. I think we'll probably see that in Sony's TVs next year. The other really cool thing about this TV, you may have heard, the screen itself is a speaker. There are little actuators behind the screen that cause the screen to make sound, which is fantastic because it localizes the sound. So if, say, there's somebody speaking over here, you hear it coming from over here. You actually can get a decent stereo effect out of the TV as well. But remember earlier I showed you that little center channel input in the back for speaker wires? The idea there is if you're running a big surround sound system like we often do, and you don't want to have to use a center channel speaker that you put under the TV or above it or whatever, you can actually put the center channel signal from the receiver into the back of the TV, and the TV screen will act as the center channel. And it does a pretty stinking good job. With those two little subwoofers in the back that I mentioned before, you can get a big robust sound out of this TV. Lizards and snakes. I don't know what it is about 4K HDR demo footage, but it's just chock full of them. Weird. Anyway, this TV looks fantastic. And by that I mean, even when it's turned off, it's a very elegant TV, super thin, very easy to use thanks to that chip that's running Android OS so well. Overall, I'm very impressed by the first impressions that I'm getting on this television. Now, I know you want me to talk about picture quality, but guess what? that's what the full review video is for, which I promise will be coming very soon.